Welcome to today's painting tutorial. In this lesson, we're going to paint a warty pumpkin. So let's start with a filbert brush. We have a size 6 here. And I want to put down a base of yellow. I have this kind of a pastel yellow. And let's put that down. And we want it to be kind of a wash. So we're just going to add quite a bit of water and then bring that paint down. And then while it's still wet, let's add a little bit of a shadow, and we can do that with this yellow ochre. So kind of where those lines of the pumpkin are and where that stem is kind of covering the surface of the pumpkin to make a little bit of a shadow, we're just going to add that yellow ochre in there. Okay, and then rinse off your brush. And then we'll just keep going with that yellow. And let's actually grab a larger brush. This is a size 9 filbert. So you always want to use the size of the brush that's going to fit with your project. Sometimes if it's taking a long time to cover an area, it just means you need to switch to a larger brush. Okay, and you could take a screenshot of this and copy the painting if you would like. Copy the sketch and then paint along. I'm trying to come up with a lot of fall projects for you guys so you can just paint through the fall season. And pumpkins are one of my most favorite things to paint this time of year. So this is a nice yellow underpainting. Just going to add a little bit more water. This paper is very thirsty, so it's really picking up my water quickly. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to take this yellow and kind of put it in these line areas. And actually it looks like we could do that a little bit darker. So we'll go with that yellow ochre and then put those are kind of like the folds of the pumpkin. The lines. Okay, and then make your brush kind of damp and then just kind of blend that in a little bit. Okay, and you can see how that makes it look pretty three-dimensional and it has a cool look. Okay, so we have that yellow down and let's switch back to the size 6 filbert. And I want to put in some color for the stem. So I want to take a Vandyke Brown or any dark brown paint that you have and put in the stem. We're just using the tip of that brush. And then pushing down, and it can be darker at the bottom where the shadow is, and then just kind of blend that upwards. Okay, and that's a good underpainting, a first block in layer for the stem, and we can let that dry. And next I want to take some green paint and I want to go around these bumps that we have. And we're not going to go around the ones on the edges, just the ones in the center. So to do that, I'm going to use a round brush. I have a size 6 round here. And I'm going to take a green shade. I'm going to take this kind of mossy green. And this is a good brush to use because you can get a lot of variation in the size of your lines with this type of brush. Just depending on how much pressure you put down is going to depend how thin or thick your line is going to be. So I'm just kind of going over this sketch, just outlining those shapes. And this could be kind of your meditative part of your project. Just try to relax and kind of just do something that's doesn't take a lot of thought or mental energy. Just go around outlining the shapes. Okay, and now that that's finished, next let's take maybe a darker shade of green. I have this kind of foresty green, and we could kind of go around the shapes again and just kind of add a little bit of a shadow with this darker green. Maybe just do it to one side. So you want to determine where your light source is coming from. And if the light's coming from the left side, we want our shadows to be on the right. So we can just add that darker green onto the right side, just to give some three-dimensional look here. Okay. So that looks good. Let's next move to some color. So I'm going to take a size 4 filbert brush. And then I have this really beautiful green color. It's like a neon green. And let's put some of that maybe in the middle of these shapes. This is just a really fun color to dance around. And it's almost looking like leopard spots to me. And we could put some over here. Just kind of move that around the piece. Okay, and then I want to do the same thing. Actually, let's maybe let that dry a little bit. And while that's drying, we could take this dark green and then put that along the stem. See if you can use the edge of your brush and just do a few lines there, just to give the texture of the stem. And that gives a pretty realistic look. Okay, so now let's try to do a wash. I'm going to switch back to the size 9 filbert, our large filbert. And let's grab some water, and then I have this beautiful neon yellow color. So let's see what that would look like if we did a glaze on top of this pumpkin. Just do some nice thin strokes. And you can let everything underneath dry if you would like before you do this step. And if you let it dry, you're going to have less kind of streaks. But if you do get streaks, you can kind of blend it together and kind of use that to your advantage. And this neon paint, it's fairly transparent. It's not very opaque. So it kind of works really well for glazing. Okay, so I'm just kind of blending those green outlines that I did. And if I wanted to blend them a little bit more, I could add some of this mossy green and then just kind of look at some parts that are maybe sticking out and looking kind of harsh, and just kind of soften that a little bit. Okay, so I like the way this is looking. It's a really neat look. It's pretty fun. So let's take a size 4 filbert and put in some highlights. So I'm going to take a titanium white and mix it with a little bit of this pale yellow that I have. And see if I can put that in the middle of some of these kind of wart shapes. Just to give it that three-dimensional look and kind of make the warts pop off of the page a little bit. Okay, so at this final stage, you can kind of go back and clean up your lines, clean up anything that you think needs to be refined a little bit more. For my painting, I might go back and kind of smooth some of these lines just to make them look a little bit more cohesive with that moss green paint. And I might think about maybe this side is going to be lighter and this side is going to be a little bit darker. So I might just go and add some darker paint and then also do that along the bottom of the pumpkin because it is a spherical shape. You want to think about your shades and values and where your light source is coming from and all those kind of basic painting lessons that you learned in the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to call this done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you give it a try. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.